I mean, because you can't say, I don't like all black people sexually or all white people sexually. You couldn't possibly have had sex with every single white person and found out that you don't like it, or every single black person and found out that you don't like it. There's no way you could have. To arbitrarily say all black people are off the table because of this, that's racist. That's not a preference. That's just racist.
What's your thoughts about sexual racism as a whole?
I don't really give it too much thought because, I've never actually had any bad experiences, quote unquote, with being rejected for being, because of my race. Any form of racism is wrong, but I think a lot of people get it twisted. They really do have preferences and racism confused. And you notice how it's only the people who are being rejected who call it racism. Because like I said, it's not something that I've ever experienced firsthand. But I'm seeing all these things on the internet about how, no fats, no femmes, no whites, no blacks need to apply, da da da. That's it's racist. That is absolutely racist. If you don't like black people, that's racist. If you don't like Asian people, that's racist. If you don't like Indian people, that's racist. If you don't like white people, that's racist. If you can't justify what it is, aside from them being white, black, Indian, Asian, whatever their racial makeup is, then that's all racist. And even if you can't justify it, if your justification is some bullshit like, white people smell like wet dog, that's not a justification. That's still just flat out racist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because and this is something that we were talking about. Myself and my partner were talking about. He was saying that Indian people, when I say Indian people, I mean people from India, they tend to think that we smell like milk because we drink milk, and they don't, supposedly. I don't know if they actually do, but supposedly we smell like spoiled milk because we drink milk. That's something that we don't smell. We don't smell that on each other because that's just a natural scent in our environment, supposedly. But that's something that, like, if you say, oh, well, black people smell like black people smell like spoiled milk. Well, not all black people smell like that. You know what I'm saying? White people smell like wet dog. Not all white people smell like that. You know what I'm saying? So your justification is just as racist and actually invalid. But then there is preferences. Like, I enjoy someone with long, blonde hair. I enjoy someone with blue eyes. I enjoy someone who, I don't know, some kind of physical characteristics that can be boiled down to individuals. You know what I'm saying? But to label a whole racial makeup of people, that's all just racist. That's not a preference. Because you can't say, I don't like all black people sexually or all white people sexually. You couldn't possibly have had sex with every single white person and found out that you don't like it, or every single black person and found out that you don't like it. There's no way you could have. To arbitrarily say all black people are off the table because of this, that's racist. That's not a preference. That's just racist. But then again, I could be wrong.
So what's your thoughts on it, Adrian?
I forgot the main thing I wanted to talk about, but I would have to say, like, the gay community definitely has issues with racism. Just because it's such a huge group. Like, Q group is like basically saying that you're not straight. So like with all of that in mind, if there's racism outside of that demographic and we encompass all these different backgrounds and cultures, then obviously there's going to be some form of racism involved. I haven't really encountered too many instances of online racism, and maybe that has something to do with, like, a fair skin privilege. Sometimes people think I'm ethnically or racially ambiguous. Sometimes, believe it or not, people don't believe I'm black. and then that's like insulting to try to have that conversation. I mean, it's not so much insulting anymore because I try to make a joke out of a lot of things, but I think the biggest part is just like the ignorance on like cultural stereotypes, like not so much the fact that, like, even when people say they're into brown guys, like into black men, like sometimes dudes get with me and like I had one guy who was like, yeah, I'm really into the thug type, you know. I'm like, thug? Like, who's thug? Like, I haven't robbed anybody. Like, I didn't jack any cars today. I don't have any, like, I'm not set tripping. Like, I'm not gonna crip walk in this bitch. Like, you know, I just think that like I had a friend too who was very tall, chocolate, B.O.B., big old bottom. You know, like 6'3", 6'4", nurse. And constantly just having like dudes online like hit him up, you know, being like, give me that big old mandingo dick, and you're just like no, girl, like he's a bottom, and he reserves the right to be that, as dark and as large as he is, you know. So I think there's obviously like a lot of people, like it surprises me, all like the new transplants to California, who are like new to the area or new to the city, you know. Like I saw this one profile that was like, seems to be a lot of Asians here, not really into that. And it's like, you like, bitch, you're fresh off the boat. Like, you're the one who just got here. Like, you know, like, how do you not know? How do you not like all Asians? How do you not like the Asian diaspora? You know, like everyone comes, even within, you know, quote unquote racial groups. There's people of all shades, sizes, you know, features, like, you know, some, you know, I think all of us have had the experience where we're out on the street and we've seen people of a different quote unquote race who look like somebody who's, you know, the opposite race or someone we know. Like I've always seen, you know, like you go out and you're like that's totally like the white version of so-and-so. You know, and they have the same features. So to me, it's really stupid. Like, you know, there are cultural differences between people, and I think that's the biggest thing that we have to get over. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it right now. I can't. I'm not slinging big mandingo dick, and you know.
And it's funny, like since Adrian mentions it, you know. A lot of sexual racism, people tend to think of it as a negative. Like it's negative because someone's always being rejected or whatever. You know, like, oh, I don't date black men, I don't date white men, blah blah blah. But the reverse is also true, and it doesn't make it any less racist. You know, like the whole mandingo fetish. White men might only want to date black men because of the stereotype that black men have, you know, larger appendages. You know, or you know, black men might want to date white men or white women because they're more subservient and submissive to them. You know, so there are racial stereotypes to the reverse that is not always, I mean, it's all negative really, but, you know, it's not necessarily people being rejected. People are also being accepted because of their perceived stereotypical characteristics. That doesn't make it any less racist. It's all still, to me, racist. You're only dating black men because you think they have big penises, or you're only dating white men or white women because they're subservient. You're labeling that to all people of that racial group across the board. You know, if you can't narrow down the reason why you don't like to date someone specifically to that individual, then you know that's the only way it's not racist if you can point it out to that one individual and it only applies to that one individual. If you're applying it unilaterally across the board, you're being racist.
And you know, if you know, on top of that, like, if people are into like racist like race play and that shit, like I'm not into it. Like when I used to live in San Francisco, I used to go to the like the leather fests, and there a lot of people get whipped in the street. I'm not gonna let some white guy whip me. It's not happening. But like some people are into that. I had a friend who like totally went on a date with a guy, and before they went out to dinner, had like Mandingo thug robbing his place, rape race play, and they were both cool with it. And I mean, like if that's your thing, fine. But it's totally different story when you're like, no fats, no femmes, no rice, you know, no barbecue, or the fuck they say for like black people, you know. So,
well, I mean, I can understand. I agree with you there. I mean, I can understand. You know, something could be clearly racist on the outside, like you said, that whole Mandingo thug rapist, you know, race play. What two consenting adults do between themselves, it should be acceptable because that's two consenting adults. You know, people shouldn't really have an opinion about that. I can't get into no race play. That's bullshit. I get mad too quick. I get mad too quick and I hold a grudge. So,
oh, Lynx, what you got to say, Lynx? I know you got something.
Wait, what did I just step in the middle of? Did you just say race play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait. So, like, you mean like, all right, so you fucking with a white dude, and he's like, yeah, you're my nigger. And you're like, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's race play.
Yeah, I worked at a bar once where I'm telling all my fucking business. I worked at this bar once, and one of my coworkers, we were hanging out after work, and his boyfriend, like at the time, he liked for him to put on like overalls and like pretend to be asleep. And it was kind of like he would be on the couch and like pull back the overalls and like pretend.
Oh, that's odd, though.
You know, like pretend he was like messing with the help or whatever.
Oh, Jesus, no.
It was all cool. It was all cool till you said the help.
The help, right.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a big dark black man in overalls. Come on now. But yeah, I mean, that was their thing.
Because I mean, to me, that was like a farmer fantasy or something. Like that was getting hot, and there's like the help. Like what?
Yeah.
But okay, so I don't know. I came in at the end of what Jose was talking about, so I'm kind of lost on what.
Well, I was saying how when you're basically putting characteristics to a generalizing, and you're now unilaterally putting this generalization to an entire race of people, that's basically racist. Like if you can't narrow down what you don't like about somebody individually, then you're being racist. But if, let's say, a white guy or a black guy start dating and they're both collectively into race play, what two consenting adults do is between them, and no one really should have an opinion about it.
Correct.
I can't.
No.
It ain't gonna be me.
But
It ain't gonna be me because I get I get mad and I hold a grudge. So, but if that's their thing. But if that person is only dating black men because of the whole Mandingo fetish, and that one black dude is only dating white people because of that subservient attitude that he thinks all white people are to black men, then they're both equally being racist.
Well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, like there's a line, right? And it's a very fine line. And I think I've talked about this before. There's a very fine line, and I come into this after, because I know we spoke about it before, but this is like on the heels of after working on these apps and seeing what I've seen and being like, getting to see behind the curtain kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep in mind, this is coming all after that experience. So there's a very fine line. People be like, well, I have a preference, and they hide their racism behind that special word of preference. And I don't think that to me, it's kind of insulting to my intelligence for someone to say, no femmes, no fats, no blacks, no Asians, and then to be like, well, it's just my preference. And it's kind of like, all right, a preference is like burger, pizza. I prefer pizza, but if you put the burger and the pizza in front of me, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to eat that damn burger. But that pizza's not out of the question. And every now and then, I'm not going to want a fucking burger. I'm going to want that slice of pizza. I prefer a burger, but I am not going to cut out all the other food from my life. I'm not going to be like, well, I can't deal with you right now because you're a pizza, and pizza is just not cool. Like, to me, that's just kind of stupid. Or to not like a food because of a preconceived idea about it. Oh, I can't have that Spanish beans and rice. Have me farting all night. Well, that's not necessarily true. Have you experienced that? No. Well, then what the fuck are you talking about? So, that being said, people are allowed to have their things, like, what they are into more. So it would be like, well, I find myself dating this kind of person because of this thing I'm into. So, like, if I'm into superhero play, which, fun. So, like, but if all I'm surrounded by, like, if everyone that I meet and I ask, are you into this? If they tend to be all skinny Asians, well, guess what I tend to date 9 times out of 10 would be those skinny Asians. And then people are like, well, how come you only look for Asians? Well, there's a thing that I'm into, and so far, they seem to be the only ones that are into it, so I go looking for the ones who are into it.
Mm-hmm.
My husband has only ever, he's only ever really dated in terms of relationships, black guys, but black guys are not the only people he's ever been with.
Right.
So he's got his thing where it's like, well, he's really attracted to black guys, and if you put a black guy next to a white guy, he's going to choose that black guy 9 times out of 10. But he has no problem being with white people or Asian people or Latino people and stuff like that.
It's sort of like if you're like you said, putting a black guy next to a white guy, like 9 out of 10, he go for the black guy. But if the white guy got a little bit more personality, then he probably go for him. That's what you're trying to say,
right? Like, no problem. Like he has his leaning.
Right.
But the leaning doesn't shut out a possibility with everybody else. So when that happens, I understand that as a preference. But when someone is like, I can't be with you, why? Because you're black. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, is it because I'm black, or is it because you've had experiences with black people? Like, if someone were to say to me, dude, I've been in a relationship with 6 black guys. All I've ever dated was black men, and all I ever had was trouble. I'm trying to date somebody else. I can almost get that because it's not based on the color. It's based on my experience with this group of people. Now, I would sooner say, well, why don't you just move outside of that area and date a group of people elsewhere, whatever. You might not have that kind of trouble with black men in this area. You might have that trouble. And like, if you're dating, like, if you keep dating the same people from the same fucking club and you having trouble with the same people from the same club, go to a different damn club. And
the common denominator in situations like those is usually you.
There you go. Like, why are you choosing the same thing over and over again? Like, stop making that choice. Sometimes, in order to facilitate not making that choice, they should be looking at another race, maybe, and to facilitate them not making that choice. Like, if the choice being, I keep choosing men with dicks too big, well, choose an Asian. Your chances of finding an Asian with a dick that is too big are not too big. I mean, you'll find the average size, what we consider average, but, finding one too big, your chances are slimmer. Go ahead, try a different race. But this is what I'm saying. Don't shut somebody out. So when I see, like, no fats, no femmes, that's just as bad as saying no blacks and no Asians. Like, all right, I can see that, there is physical attraction. You need to be physically attracted to stuff like that, whatever. But what are you not trying? What are you not saying? What are you know what I mean? Like,
but at the same time, okay, if you into fat people and this one skinny person got every qualification that you want, but he's not fat, would you dump him because he's not fat? That would seem stupid.
Well, I've heard stories. I have heard stories about people who have been together, and one of the partners was large, and then for whatever reasons decided they wanted to make some life changes and got small, and the person dumped him because he lost his weight. That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
But that also comes down to you choosing who you're with and why you're with them.
Right.
Like,
so all the characteristics that make up this person are pale in comparison to the fact that he was heavy. The heavy was what he was wanting, and then when the heavy was gone, everything else was irrelevant. Like, he doesn't care that this person has a good job, has a good home, has money, has stability, it's good to him.
Right, and the fucked up part is that we can't dictate that they care. We can't dictate that they care. Or that they feel that, certain extra way. Like, I mean, if I want to sit there and call them shallow for it, damn it, that's what they're doing and that's what they're being. But did you know that before you got into that with them?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, people will look at my husband and be like, well, he doesn't look like the type that you go for. Because, when they see anyone I've ever messed with in the past, it's like, they're tall, they're big, they're bearish and everything else. And my husband's none of that. And I'm like, well, I'm not married to this physical idea of someone because I know that we get older. I'm getting older. Everything's changed. People change. And it's like, am I looking for someone that's going to be there for me as long as I look the way they want me to look, knowing that time changes you? Or do I want to be with someone that I have a deeper connection with, and that's what I was looking for? So that's what I went with, and it had nothing to do with how he looks. Granted, I'm still attracted to him. It doesn't mean I'm not attracted. But what it does mean is that I had to look for more than that. Mm-hmm. Because his looks are going to fade. My looks are going to fade. Time does that. So if I'm attracted to you now, I need to know that you're going to be in it with me for the long haul when I'm not so attractive anymore. When we don't have all the money, when we don't have all the fun, I need to know that you're going to be there for life, not just until you get an attitude. Not just until I don't look the way you want me to look anymore. But that's personal, and that's me. I can't dictate that that's how everyone else is going to be. If somebody else wants to build their entire life on something shallow, hey, more power to you, and I wish you luck. And if they want to say, well, how's that shallow? Because it fucking is. Right. It's like, how's that shallow? It's fucking shallow. Deal with it. Gotta be shallow, own it, and deal with it. So, I don't know. When it comes to the race thing, people being racist about who they're having. First off, racism about sex is kind of ridiculous. I mean, you're just fucking. You're not looking to make a life with this person, quite frankly. So, I mean.
But a lot of people put those two things that should be mutually exclusive together. They love them together. Oh, I'm having sex with you. I'm judging you by the sex that I'm having with you as a possibility for a future, rather than looking at you for the person you are as a possibility.
It happens all the time.
And it happens all the time. But real fast, James, you didn't answer. You didn't give us your opinion about it, because we got like a little over 5 minutes before we got to get off.
Well, like I said, I agree with Lynx. Like I said, we all grow old. So for you to pick somebody over their skin color and looks is kind of stupid when they got everything else. Like I said, they got a good job, got their own car, got their own place, got everything that you want. But this one thing, like skin color, or they too fat or too skinny or whatever, they got this one thing. You going to dump them because of that? That seems stupid. And I think it's a deeper issue, because just because you had a bad experience with, I had bad experience with 6 black men. Okay. No, you didn't have a bad experience because they're black. You had a bad experience because they were jerks or whatever they did to you.
Or if you had a good experience with black people or white people or Asian people, and you're only them because of those experiences. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, the reverse, for this type of topic, the reverse is usually also true.
Right. Like the reverse is also true. And the hard part about a conversation like this is that we only have the one side of this conversation, which is our side of this conversation as black people. Because, I mean, no matter what we're talking about other people's experiences, we still have our own field of relatedness, and our field of relatedness, at least as far as I've noticed and from what I've seen, being like, I had a friend, quick story, I had a friend who decided he wanted to move to New England. He just got finished, with his ex, and was all like, I'm ready for a new life and everything else. My words to him were, if you come to New England, do this for your career, do not do this for your love life. If you do this for your love life, you're going to be severely disappointed. Here in Massachusetts, they're either going to want to fuck you because you're black, but not have anything to do with you outside of fucking you. Or you're going to find 1 or 2 fetish types that are going to want to date you, but they don't want to date you because of who you are. They want to date you because you're black and they have a thing for black guys, and it has nothing to do with you as a person. So, and he's like, well, you found, I'm like, I got lucky. Don't get it twisted. Don't figure out what I found. I came here for a completely different reason. It has nothing to do with my love life. And you come here, understand that they're not out with their racism like that. They're too classy. They're too classy. They're too intellectual to be out with their racism. But best believe it's racist, and they're not going to look at you that way. He came here pissed off as fuck because he can't get a date.